Okay. So today is the new moon. Today Mercury goes retrograde. Today is kind of a major tone shift in the month. We're gonna talk all about that. So let's find, I think I want to start laying down on our backs today. So if you could put your body on the ground, bring a bend into your knees and put your feet wide so they're out on the edges of your mat. Then just let your knees fall together. Make a little tent with your knees. Then I want you to take your focus through your body. Start at the top of your head and just relax your scalp, relax your temples, your forehead, your jaw, your tongue. Relax your neck and your shoulders, your chest. Notice your rib cage, especially as you breathe in and out. Just see if you can get, with your eyes closed, like a visual of your lungs expanding and contracting. Do your best to soften any muscles around your rib cage. Um, Notice how, see if you can pick out your diaphragm muscle. That is the muscle that separates our abdominal cavity from our respiratory cavity, and it helps us to breathe. Um, so it, yeah, it's kind of like a wall divider between the two areas. But a lot of times that muscle gets tight because we breathe really shallow throughout the day. So that muscle doesn't get to expand beyond just like a very small amount of usage. So see if you can feel that muscle, that part of you pulling down as you breathe in, to make room inside your chest cavity for all the air that you're taking in, and see if you can feel it soften as you breathe out and kind of relax. I do notice if I'm doing like guided breath work, then sometimes I can really feel that muscle and it feels like a tight muscle. It feels like something's being stretched, and I just think that's interesting. Then relax your abdominal muscles. Relax your pelvis, your hips, your glutes, your thighs, your knees, your shins, your ankles, and your feet. And just really connect with each of those places, each part. Okay, now that you are in your body, start to move your knees from one side over to the other. Move really slowly, just for the added drama. When I do deep tissue massage, I move a lot slower because that allows me to get deeper. And I kind of think it works in our bodies as well, when we're practicing yoga. So slow it down, see what all there is for you to feel. See if you can feel like little rust knocking off or little sticky spaces getting unstuck. And the next time your knees fall down to the right side, just let them stay there. Let them drop to the floor. Then after you get your legs in position, bring your focus up to your shoulders and just make sure that your shoulders are both soft. Neither one is straining, neither one is holding a particular shape. We are just soft, um, like Jello on the floor or Play-Doh on the floor. Slowly move your knees to point back up to the ceiling. And again, take them side to side a couple of times. Just slowly rolling into the mat beneath you, noticing how that feels, how those points of contact change. And this is just good regulatory work. This is good. It's good to be awake and slow and steady, connecting with your nervous system, slowing it down. I know a lot of us get up and we start running, and we don't stop running until it's time to eat dinner or go to bed. So really give yourself permission to be slow. Your brain might try to tell you that's a waste of time, it's unproductive. Let's drop the knees over to the left side. And once again, just let your whole body become really heavy. I don't want you to be using your shoulders to help make this twist deeper. I don't want you to be efforting. I want you to really just be softening, relaxing, releasing. This is what we do on the new moon. We have to relax, release, restore, surrender. If we compare the new moon part of the month to the part in our breath cycle, that would be the pause right before we inhale again. So if you notice, when you take a breath out, there comes a point where you can't really breathe out anymore. There's like a lull, there's a pause before you breathe in more air, new breath. The new moon is that pause right before we start building again. We start increasing and building up. It's when we have nothing left. It's dark, it can be a little frightening, but that's okay. It's just the part of the lunar cycle. It's the part of the breath cycle. And shift your knees back up through center. Take a couple more side to side movements. And then bring your knees back up through center. Let's walk our feet together. Open your knees wide and find a triple diamond. So let your knees open up to the sides of the room. You can put your arms in a cactus shape, in a triple diamond shape, by connecting your pointer fingers and thumbs. You can even bring a hand to your heart, a hand to your belly, or both hands to your hips, whatever feels good. Whichever shape you choose, just make sure that you are not using any effort at all. It really is that last moment before the inhale. Everything is out. There's nothing else you can do. So try to imitate that in your body, that softness, that release and restoration. And if it doesn't feel real in your body, that's okay. Just keep imagining it. There's so many cool studies that our brain can't really tell the difference between what is imagined and what is actual. So if you have really tight spots in your body, just imagine them softening, because what's the harm that could do? None. Imagine your shoulders, imagine your jaw, just melting like butter, or whatever visual you want to use. Just really softening. And that really fits in with the theme of today, the Sagittarius new moon. So new moons, we look at the sign that it's in, Sagittarius. What do we know about Sagittarius? Well, it's a fire sign. So there's some action there. There's some energy there. There's a little spontaneity. because fire doesn't operate in straight lines. Fire doesn't operate by rules and regulations. Fire moves in the shortest distance from point A to point B. It doesn't listen to stop signs. It doesn't pay attention to whether there's a house there or a car there. It's just going to move on through. Sagittarius also has to do with new ideas, foreign territory. This is when we take our focus out of our immediate environment and zoom out a little bit, look at the big picture a little bit. I think it's perfect for Christmas time. I think it's perfect to help us build momentum into this time of the year where we do zoom out and we do, there's a reason for the season. We spend all month long kind of preparing and getting ready, collecting what needs to be collected. But a lot of times we're more concerned with what we can touch. We're more concerned with, oh, the Amazon package didn't arrive, or the wreath isn't hung on the door appropriately. It's things that we can see and maneuver with our hands. But I think it's also important to zoom out inside of ourselves and think about our belief systems and why we think the way we think and why we hold on to some of the things that we hold on to. Let's bring your knees in towards your chest. Put your hands on top of your knees and establish a connection. Now we're going to do a little active isolated stretching for our pelvis, for our low back today. So there will be a little bit of movement, but then we're going to pair it with some longer hold stretches. So let's start by putting our left foot down on the ground. Our right knee is still up towards our chest. We're going to exhale and pull this right knee towards the right shoulder. And then inhale, release, tap your toes down on the ground. Exhale, pull your knee towards your chest, knee to shoulder. Inhale, tap your toes on the ground. Keep going. Exhale in and inhale to tap. Keep that breath paired with your movement. That's an important part of how active isolated stretching works. When we pair breath and movement and take these short movements, we are bypassing our body's reflex. So we can create space in areas that maybe are otherwise guarded. Let's do 3 more. And switch sides. We'll work with our left leg now. We'll exhale, pull this left knee towards the left shoulder. Inhale, tap the toes. Exhale, pull it in. Inhale, tap. Go with that rhythm, go with that flow. When we don't stop to examine our belief systems, I think it's a huge disservice that we do to ourselves, I think. Because when we are aware of what we believe in, then we are like participating in that thing. We understand why we believe in it. We understand where it came from. We understand many more facets than if we just blindly accept and carry things with us everywhere we go. Let's do 2 more on this side. And then we'll do both knees at the same time. So we're going to exhale both knees towards our shoulders, and then inhale, we'll tap our toes down on the ground. Exhale, pull your knees in and then tap your toes. Exhale, knees to chest. Inhale, tap them on the ground. Continue that rhythm, that flow, moving your body to match your breathing. And be open to the idea that you are not only carrying thoughts or belief systems around with you, but that shows up in your muscles. That shows up in your tight shoulders or in your tight jaw. Because we know everything is super connected. So just like we're willing to examine what it is we believe in, we have to be willing to examine our bodies as well. Be curious about, okay, I know my shoulders are tight. So where's that coming from? What are the shapes that I'm putting myself in that support that tightness? We can take it even a step further and wonder what thoughts, what circumstances, what people we engage with that inspire a physical response in our bodies. Let's do 2 more, knees to chest. Awesome. Then bring your knees in towards your chest. Take your feet up to the ceiling. Hold onto the backs of your thighs. Find some movement with your feet. We can do points and flexes or rotations. You can do circles, kind of whatever feels really good in your body. Bring stillness into your feet. Grab onto your right knee, pull it down, take your left leg out long on the ground. Let's find a half happy baby with this right leg. So we're going to bring our right hand to our right foot. We'll pull our knee down beside our rib cage by our chest and shoulder. And explore this area of your body. Explore your hips, explore your low back. Think about how you interact with your immediate environment, whether that is your job or your home or just the little things that you do each day. And see if you can find a correlation between what's going on in this right hip and how you do the details of each day. Maybe in order to get your tasks done, you have to sit down. Or maybe you do a lot of driving in order to function in the day-to-day. And so you're sitting and you're also using your right foot, your right leg more than your left. Just be curious. Be curious about the details that brought you here to this moment. Let's start to release this leg. We'll hold on to the back of our right thigh. Our left leg is still out long. Let's inhale. We'll lift our leg up to the ceiling and point the toes. Then when we exhale, bend your knee and flex your toes. Pull your toes back to your shin. Inhale, lift and point your toes. Exhale, bend your knee, flex your toes. Continue up and down a few more times. Just being willing to work through anything that you find. I find with massage, people's hamstrings are so tight. That's the back part of the leg. And I think that just has a lot to do with our lifestyle. If we're not sitting, we're standing on concrete. Just the beauties of modern life. So as you're exploring, as you're connecting with your own body, I want you to be also focused on compassion and understanding and just the highest of love and appreciation for your body. Let's do one more. Lift that leg up and then bend. Let's pull the right knee in towards the chest. Pull your left knee in towards your chest. And then cross your legs at your ankles. We're going to rock up to a seat before we go to the other side. So take 3 rock and rolls and eventually move over your knees. So we're going to find a tabletop position. From table, we're going to find a lizard. So let's step our right foot forward so it comes up to the outside of our right hand. You can put it on the edge of your mat. And we're just going to put our palms on the ground. At first, if your body makes more room and you start to feel like you have a little more space, you can bring a forearm down to the ground or a block or a bolster. But for now, just meet yourself where you're at. Be curious about where you're at. Be curious about how you got here. And do your best to release and surrender, just like that new moon. The new moon happening today, that signifies a new beginning. And then with Mercury going retrograde today, to me, that just means that this beginning, this cycle that we're in right now, it's important to be extra reflective as we pursue, as we build, as we inhale over the next 2 weeks. Let's start to lift ourselves up. We're going to wiggle this right foot in between our hands and then straighten out your right leg. So your hips move backward. We're going to find a reverse splits, really stretching into this right hamstring on the back of our right leg. For our structure, I want you to look back and make sure that your left knee falls directly below your left hip bone. A lot of times I find I have to scoot my knee back a little bit just so I get that structural support. And then do your best to make sure your hips are parallel with the ground. They're even. We don't have our right hip lifted up high in the sky. So a new beginning having to do with belief systems, big picture ideas, foreign ideas, learning. And we have an extra little influence that says it's a really important time to reflect and reassess and re-acknowledge. It gives us an opportunity for critical thinking. We're always moving forward. We're not doing any assessments. We're not doing any reflections. We're not re-examining anything. Then we can move forward at the speed of 1,000 horses, but we can be carrying all this shit with us that we did not authorize ourselves to bring. Let's slowly bring a bend back into this right knee. Slide your hips forward and come back into tabletop position. Bring your knees under your hips, your hands under your shoulders, and find some movement, some C curves with your spine. And we'll just wiggle from side to side. Notice that space between your ribs. Notice the space between your ribs and your pelvis. And find your way back to center. Let's open the right side of the body up by reaching your right hand up to the ceiling. Big opening, big reach. And then thread the needle. Bring your right shoulder down under your right shoulder. Rest your head down, and just let your spine twist. Let your organs twist. You can involve your imagination and say, all right, I'm going to wring out any old beliefs that I don't need anymore, just like I wring out a washcloth. If we don't give ourselves time to assess our beliefs, then we are really just blindly carrying things around with us. If I carry the belief around that I struggled owning a yoga studio and I didn't like it, it wasn't for me, all these little things, I'm never going to open a studio again. I'm not saying that I will, but I've grown since then. I've learned so much since then. I feel like my brain has developed since then. So while that's kind of harmless, because I'm not actively looking to buy a yoga studio, but if I carry that idea around that I hated it, it was bad, I was bad at it, then that's not really a fair representation of what is available to me. Let's bring our bodies back up to tabletop, and then we'll find our backside again. So bring your hips down to the ground. Bring your spine down to the ground. Oh, let your body be easy for a moment. Just feel your spine, your head, your shoulders all resting. And then take your right leg out long and pull your left knee in towards your chest. We're gonna find our half happy baby on this side. So we're gonna bring our left hand up to our left foot. We're gonna invite our hips to open up on this side. Another example, I feel like this one is a little bit more applicable. Say that you live somewhere where there's heavy construction. I happen to know that both of you do, so you can imagine this very well. Heavy construction. There is a route on the way to work that is blocked and is when you go that way, it makes your trip to work an hour versus 15 minutes. It's just so slow. It's unreasonable. No one knows how to drive there. So you avoid that road. You find a new way. You get to work just fine. So many weeks pass that you kind of forget about the old path, the old route, and surely construction still isn't going on. So if we carry this belief that that first way is always going to be slow, it's never going to get us there on time, we're always going to go out of our way to get there. And that's why it's important to come back and to reflect and reassess and just re-examine the thoughts that we carry around in our heads. Just because one thought or one belief was true in one moment or one day or one week, doesn't mean that it still is. Let's release our grip on this left foot. Clasp the hands behind your left thigh. And with an inhale, stretch your left leg up towards the ceiling, point your toes. With an exhale, bend your knee, flex your toes. Let's go up and down. We'll inhale, lengthen, point, stretch. Exhale, bend, flex your toes. Up and down, keep on going. A lot of the beliefs that we pick up are just like coping mechanisms. They made us feel safe and secure at one point in time. And we've like outgrown that security blanket. We don't need that that little belief or that little security blanket to make us feel better, to make us feel safe and secure. We can evolve and we can grow. And thank goodness, because I think a lot of us would be walking around with little teddy bears or binkies or whatever those things that we held on so tightly when we were little. Let's take one more up and then down. Let's bring our knee in towards our chest, pull the right knee in towards the chest then, and take 3 rock and rolls up to your seat. And we'll find our tabletop position. This time we'll work through some cats and cows. So plant your hands, plant your knees, find some big ripple wave movements through your spine. And again, take it slow. Allow yourself that like deep tissue experience where we're not rushing, we're really just soaking in each moment. Bring your spine back to neutral. And let's take our lizard with the left leg. So we'll step our left foot forward. We will put our hands down on the mat on the inside of the left foot. And then we're going to honor that new moon by really practicing the art of surrender, the art of release. I feel like we can only really surrender when we are really aware. It's one of the many reasons why I love yoga. It's very hard to escape these feelings of discomfort that come when we're stretching our hips or we're in a posture that is challenging. It's a really good opportunity to practice being uncomfortable without doing anything to change it. And I think that's what surrender is. While we are surrendering in our body, let's also surrender to the idea that maybe we don't know as much as we thought we knew. Or maybe we're operating on a lot of family traditions or family beliefs that are only true within our family, but maybe not for the rest of the people of the world. Or maybe it's generational beliefs, you know? You think you have to work really, really, really hard in order to get somewhere. It could be something you learned from a parent. What if those things aren't 100% true? And again, we have to practice surrender because that's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to think like, what if I've based my whole life on something that isn't necessarily 100% true? Let's start to wiggle our left foot in towards middle, and then we'll stretch that left leg out long. So we're relaxing our chest forward. We've got good structure. We've got our right knee underneath our right hip bone in the back. Make any adjustments if you need to. Some of the beliefs we form in childhood are really ridiculous. If I'm not a good girl, if I'm not on good behavior, I won't get love. Like it's that big of a threat. Like I will become unlovable if I'm not on good behavior. That's so wild. That's so wild. That's something that I feel like I've carried with me. And of course, I don't think, Mom, I don't think you guys were. I don't think that was your intention. I feel like you were teaching me life skills, but for some reason, my little kid brain really just went crazy with it. I didn't realize it until I was like, oh, mid-20s. And that little belief still comes up in the weirdest ways. And it's not even true. But it still dictated a lot of my actions, and it was sneaky. It operated under, like in the undercurrents of thoughts. It's not something I was directly thinking, but more it was buried. It was buried under there. So really just be curious, like what could you be carrying with you from little 7-year-old Ellen's mind or little 7-year-old Leslie's mind that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense if you think about it now. But that old version of you, it made the most sense too. Let's bend our front knee, bring our hips forward again, and move our way back into tabletop position again. Let's open the knees out wide to the edges of the mat. Drop your hips down to your heels and find a child's pose. Soften your chest forward, your forehead forward, and relax. Slowly and surely work your way back up to a tabletop position. Walk your knees under your hips again, and then take your left arm up to the ceiling. Big reach, big stretch, big open, and thread your needle. Bring your left shoulder down to the ground. Rest your head down to the ground. Let your spine twist, your organs twist, your skin twist. Let's bring our shoulders back to neutral, our hands back beneath our shoulders. And let's come down to our belly into a Sphinx pose. So we're going to set our hips down, our knees to the floor. And put your elbows on the mat, your fingertips pointing forward. And take a moment just to really lengthen your spine as much as you can. Notice where it is at the bottom, how your spine feeds into your pelvis. Notice where it curves to like lift your chest up for this Sphinx pose. Notice your spine passing between your shoulder blades and up into the bottom of your head. And just see if you can find any more room for space or length around your spine. Sometimes we believe something so much that we feel the need to defend it. We feel the need to prove why we are right, or we need to like prove why our belief holds up. And while I understand like having the passion about something, I also think we can get to a point where if we get defensive, then our brain closes like a bear trap. It like closes around that idea or that thing, and it doesn't let anything else in. When our brains close to new possibilities, to other possibilities, we can just very quickly limit ourselves. And it's the worst kind of limitation because it's self-imposed. Like that's just silly. There's a lot of things that I feel like want to limit us, but we shouldn't do that to ourselves. Let's slowly bring our chest back down to the ground. We'll reach the right hand over to 3 o'clock, and we're gonna roll up onto our right side. So we're gonna just roll our body slightly So we get into the front of that right shoulder. Do your best to soften. Do your best to relax. To not hold on. Carolyn Mace is a really interesting author. She's also a medical intuitive, and she's like 93% accurate. She's really interesting. But she did a lot. She is Catholic. She did a lot with like the nuns and the sisters, and that was a big part of her schooling was Catholic school. And she said, just in a speech that she gave once, she said that the last class that she had to take, there were not many students in, one of the last ones at her Catholic school. And the nun takes all three of you or all five of you or whatever kind of away to a different location and just talks about what you believe in. And you're only able to be done when you stop defending your standpoint. That was the whole lesson, is you couldn't be done with your schooling until you stopped defending your position. I just think that's interesting. I think it's interesting for many reasons. But I think it highlights the importance in not getting to that point, because that's when our brain closes to any other possibility, any other option. Let's slowly roll back to our bellies. And then stretch your left hand over to the 9 o'clock, over to the left side of the room. And we'll just roll up onto our left shoulder. I thought it was interesting also that it was a Catholic nun that said that, because I just feel like that is one of those groups where like tradition is trumps everything. Tradition trumps everything. And so if tradition trumps everything, then how can your mind be open? There must have been some cool nuns. Notice what you feel in your body. See how much control you have just with your thoughts, just with your awareness. If you notice you're fighting or clenching or defending a certain spot, once you're aware of it, you can soften a little bit. And slowly start to roll our way back down to our stomach. We'll bring our hands beside our chest and press our way up to hands and knees. Let's bring our hips down to the ground and make our way onto our backside. So lay down again. Take a little scan again through your body. Start at the top, work your way down to the bottom. And then kind of scour your inside, the stuff you can't see or touch, your thoughts, your heart, your beliefs. And in fact, let's just lift all of our beliefs up in gratitude, because they've gotten us to this point. And I think that's really cool. I think that's really important. Even the ones that aren't necessarily true, um, they still served a purpose. They still helped you for some reason, somehow, some way to cope with something. So let's be grateful. Let's hold gratitude in our hearts and maybe just ask God or the universe or however you think about things like that. Ask that the beliefs that are limiting you to be removed from you. Just ask if you can just let those go. Can I leave these on my mat today, please? I want to move forward through this next cycle with beliefs that will serve my highest good, beliefs that will serve my family's highest good or my community's highest good. And that way, we can practice the art of surrender. We can practice the art of awareness. But we're also trusting that our creator or the universe or, whatever you like to think of, also is playing a hand in it and is helping us by bringing those things to the surface, by bringing them forward for us to witness. So then we, with our awareness, can choose, okay, I don't need that anymore. Thank you. Let's move into a twist. Cross your right knee over your left knee, drop your knees to the left and your eyes to the right. And with that twisted shape, once again, imagine just wringing out a dirty dish rag. That last little squeeze before it can absorb any more water. That last little bit of breath that leaves your lungs before you can breathe in again. Imagine those old belief systems, those coping mechanisms, just being wrung right out. So as you're ready to build something new in your life, you can lean on new belief systems or new thoughts that are more empowering. Let's move the twist to the other side. Left knee over right knee. Drop your knees to the right, eyes to the left. Oh my. We have the prettiest sunrise right now. I had to come see it. I could see the orange reflecting off the windows of the cars. Oof. Let's bring the knees back to center. Pull your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a squeeze, big hug. And then release. Release out into any shape, any extra stretch that you might need. Any tools, any props, any blankets. This is your final resting pose. Shavasana. Now give your toes and your fingers a little bit of a wiggle. Take your arms up over your head. And with an inhale, stretch out as long as you can. And then exhale, relax all your muscles. Let's do one more inhale. Reach, 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 stretch. And exhale, relax. Slow and steady. Find your way up to a seated position. Bring your ears above your shoulders, above your hips. Relax. And then just connect your hands together at your heart. Let's have another moment for gratitude. For all the coping mechanisms you developed along the way, all the beliefs you held along the way. And gratitude for the ability to say thank you, but I don't need that anymore. With all my love and all my gratitude, namaste.